Hi, I'm Michelle Cazorla, and I'm a professor of English at Georgia State Perimeter College, and I teach in Atlanta, Georgia. Actually, I teach in Dunwoody, Georgia, to be quite specific. And I'm going to talk today about some of the practical things you need to do as you're moving your class from traditional teaching to teaching with AI. So I want you to imagine a romantic restaurant, okay? And this is an image I borrowed from my friend Patrick Dempsey. I want you to imagine that romantic restaurant. You're sitting and you're with your significant other. It's dark, it's candlelit, there's soft music playing, um, and you're waiting for your food to be served and you're just thinking, wow, this is like an incredible place. I can't believe I've never seen this place before. And you're just sitting there and the ambiance of it all, it's very romantic. And then suddenly there's an emergency and all the lights come on. Boing! Um, and you notice that the tablecloth is filthy. It's not just dirty, it's filthy. And it hasn't been swept, it looks like in weeks. And you're kind of concerned about just like what will the cleanliness of the kitchen be in this situation? And where is that music coming from? And you see an old boom box in the corner, and everything's kind of destroyed for you. Now, that light is AI. And that romantic situation you found yourself in, that was your old teaching. So AI hasn't done anything to teaching. The problem we had with teaching was that it was just we weren't doing it right. Okay, we were romantically involved with our own idea of what teaching should be. It was something that everyone had done as we were coming up through college, and we thought, wow, I'm going to do that too. And you didn't really think out through the pedagogy, unless you're an education professor, and then I give you kudos. But most of us never really thought of it. We didn't follow the education department's, recommendation for how we should do this thing called teaching. And we just kind of went with the flow, right? We kind of made a syllabus, we sort of followed it. Sometimes we followed the textbook we were given, and we didn't really think about how we were doing it. The situation came about with AI that when AI shines the light of AI on everything else, we realize that our pedagogy is woefully inadequate. So, what are some of the things that we need to do to make sure that our basic pedagogy, like the way the foundational stuff in our class is set up, how can we make sure that that's ready for AI? So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to start to think about how you're going to be assessing your students. So you want to make sure that you're basing this, and I'm going to tell you this straight out, you need to use project-based learning, okay? Um, you need to be thinking about what are they doing for each section of my class. So let's say you have 15 weeks, okay? So we have a week for introduction, we have a week for finals or getting ready for finals. So that leaves you with about 12 weeks. I'm just going to call it 12 because it's 13 weeks, but it's really kind of 12 weeks because you got to have a little space in there. So you got 12 weeks for planning. So it looks like you probably have time for 4 projects if you're really ambitious and you want to do a project every 3 weeks, or maybe 3 projects if you want to just kind of slow it down a little bit and pay attention to every little thing. And those are 4 weeks long. Sometimes my projects are up to 5 weeks long, and then I'll have 3 weeks and 3 weeks. So I'll mix it around, especially the first project. I'm a little slower with that because I've got to bring my students up to speed. I've got to make sure that they understand how I want things done in my class. And that's another thing. We cannot do a gentle parenting thing here. We need to be really, really firm about how we're teaching these courses. So let's say I'm going to split my class into 4 projects, okay? So the first project, I'm going to teach my class how to just write. Let's say I'm doing it for composition 2, okay? You might be teaching anything, right? But let's say I'm going to be teaching my class that first 5 weeks. There's a week of introduction and then 4 weeks of the project. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach them a bunch of stuff right up front. I want to teach them the technology that I'm going to be using in the class. I want to teach them the format that they're going to be required to have for the class. I want to teach them how to use some of the tools that I'm going to be using throughout the class. And this is going to save me time as well as them. So my first week of class, I'm teaching them things like how to use AI. I'm teaching them how to use Zotero, which is a bibliographic management software. If you're in math, you might be teaching them how to use whatever math program you have for your department. Um, and I'm going to be teaching them how I want the basic formatting of my assignments to go. So I have a whole project where they're mini projects inside the larger project where they have to learn how to put together um, a document that's in MLA style. And I don't have them writing it from scratch. I have them actually taking a document that's all messed up and reformatting it so the way that I want them to format it. So I have all of those projects front loaded into my class because I'm going to, at that point, as soon as I finish teaching them all of that stuff, and that usually takes 1 to 2 weeks, I'm going to say, now you guys are responsible for everything you've learned. And I'm going to hold you responsible. When I say it has to be MLA formatting, I want you to refer back to that assignment that I did. When I tell you I want you to use this AI tool or that AI tool, I want you to pay attention to all the things we learned about AI tools in that first week. So I'm asking my students to take some responsibility and also to really start to build up their learning potential, because I'm not going to let them slide. They are responsible for everything they've learned, and that's it. Okay, so this is what our class looks like. This is a building section that I built with Eugenia Novokshchanova, who's also a professor of English at Perimeter College. And I highly recommend working with someone, if you can, from your department who might be teaching a similar class, because it's a lot easier to get through this process. You can start to split the work on building the class, and you can also split the responsibility. Like, there's going to be times when you're really questioning whether you did this right, and you don't want to go through that yourself. You want to work with someone else who can really talk you through that, or you can talk them through that. Okay, so this is the way we built our class out. We're using Desire to Learn Brightspace, but you might be using Canvas, whatever. But it's just a basic build out. So you're going to see that, first of all, we have a Start the Class Here module where our students are learning what they're going to need for the class. I'm just going to quickly go in here. We have a step one, the course access quiz, because we teach online. So a lot of times we have to have them sign into a course access quiz. It just basically says I'm taking the class so that we can give them credit for being there. Step two, getting started. We have a welcome letter, the syllabus, the course schedule, and then we have a bunch of pages that we're going to be referring to through the rest of the semester. And we're just kind of sticking them in here. We're not requiring that our students read them through, but we do want them to know that they're here. And then step three, we have university resources, things like how to get financial help, how to read about additional resources that are available at the college, the online toolkit, stuff like that. So, okay, and then we've got some information about Zotero, which is a super important program for us to be teaching in English 1101, 1102. So this is our 1102 class. As you can see, there it is, 1102, which is composition 2. So the first section we have is called exigence, and the way that we've built our class is that they have one topic all the way through the whole semester that they're going to be looking at in different ways, because we want them to go deep instead of just shallow on individual projects. So we have one project, one overall project, and it's broken down into different ways to look at that particular theme. You might be doing another class, you might be doing research or history or mathematics, something like that. So you're going to want to break down your projects, but the point is that you have projects. It's project-based learning. So we have our section 1, we have a section 2, we have a section 3, and these are actually projects. You can call them project 1, project 2, project 3 if you want, and then project 4, and then our final. So the way that we've got this broken down is every single week we have kind of it's a bookend. So the beginning of every week, we're introducing what they're doing for the week, and then we're telling them the things that they're going to be learning, and then we tell them these are the things that you're required to do. These are your assignments for the week. So we give them an overall view of what they're doing. I'm going to go back here. And then we have a bunch of information, and we do front load a lot of stuff in the first couple of weeks because that's when your students are most excited about learning. They probably don't have as many assignments to do. And we want them to be really ready for this whole semester. Now they look like a lot. It looks like a lot. But really they're kind of short little sections, and they take place of a textbook. We've written this OER resource, which is our content pages, and our students are responsible to read the content pages like they would be responsible for a textbook. So if you think of it as a textbook, it's really not that much. Okay, so then at the end, I showed you the overview, then at the end of every single week, and here's a couple of assignments that they have to do. At the end of the week, if you click on it, it has, these are the things that you should have turned in before you move on to the next week. Now, I started doing something else, which was to make sure that my students are actually completing at least one particular assignment per week, because all of my stuff is scaffolded on everything else. So I have actually made it so that they can't move to the next week until they've completed an assignment. There's one particular assignment. I might have 2 assignments due, but one particular assignment is due because everything else is scaffolded on that assignment, and so I've required it. So this is how we've set up our courses. So hopefully that'll help you to start to plan out, because you're going to have to completely, I hate to say this, but you're going to have to completely revise your courses in order to be ready for AI, and you're going to have to pay attention to those pedagogical concepts, which are project-based learning, scaffolded learning, process, formative assessment. So we'll all be talking about that in the next video. All right, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you again.